I like how they changed it now.
I know it's different. Hello and welcome to From the Backseat for our crazy bonus episode. So last night, news broke about Fernando Tatis serving an 80-game suspension and being out the rest of the year and into next year, which has led a lot of Padre fans, obviously, to just feel the collapse happening. So I am joined, of course, by my co-host.
What up, guys? Clark here again. I definitely might be on suicide watch later for what hell happened yesterday. Can't even begin to comprehend it, but we're going to dive into it today. And we have obviously a special guest on today, too. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself over there, Jack?
I'm Jack Hanlon. I'm just here for the special event here today, but diehard Padres fan, best friends with these boys from high school, so happy to be here.
Yeah. Such a great day, man. So sick. Thanks, Fernando.
Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better today than you were last night, Clark, or has it just gotten worse?
I think I feel a little bit better. Like, in terms of, I think I've calmed down to a certain extent about what I want done. However, in terms of general pain that I feel from the experience, it's still pretty high. So
honestly, I think the pain comes mostly from the comments I'm getting from non-Padres fans towards me. I think that's probably the part that stings the most. But
yeah, it's just pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, so before we get into it too much, I just want to shout out our sponsor for today's bonus episode, which is SeatGeek. SeatGeek, friend of the show. Use our promo code for your first order. You get $20 off. So if you want to go see the Padres just absolutely collapse before your eyes at whatever opposing stadium, go use our promo code From the Backseat for $20 off your first order. So
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Did we just lose Ethan? Oh, we lost you for a second, bud.
Yeah, I know. My computer just slowed down. I think it's because when I sent the text to you, my computer overloaded.
Makes sense.
So I just want to send this out to you, Clark. What was your first reaction to the news?
It was general disbelief, truly. I mean, when I saw the tweet from Jeff Passons, I was like, no way. Like that, I thought I had to check it a couple times. I had to be like, is this really a real tweet? Is this actually happening? And then I think immediately proceeding from that was just pure anger. I mean, how could you not? I mean, because every one of Padres fans, for as long as the season's been going on, was just the idea was just stay afloat until you can get Fernando back. Just stay afloat. And in a matter of a 160 character tweet, Jeff Passons torpedoed all of that. Now, thank God we made all the acquisitions at the deadline, but there's no way anyone else without initially getting the tweet was anything but pure anger and confusion. Because how could this happen? So that for me, that's my initial reaction was just confusion and anger. That's the best way to summarize it.
And Jax, what was yours?
I mean, I gotta say it's pretty similar reaction. I think the most disappointing part was listening to the guys, like his teammates on the Padres after the game. It was like sort of the nail in the coffin. You could tell that the guys were already bothered by his first incident with the motorcycle, and I don't think it was the motorcycle incident as much as lying about it that really bothered Mace as well as his teammates. But yeah, man, I mean, just it hurts. It hurts. You hate to see it. And, you know, like, in a weird way, I can't say I'm completely shocked by it. Like, I'm not shocked by what he did. I'm more shocked just, like, the timing of it and everything. It's brutal, man. Like Clark said, like, the entire motive of this season has been stay alive until he gets back. And thank God for the Soto trade. Like, how big is that Soto trade now, right? Yeah. And, you know, it's tough. It's tough, but it's either going to go one of two ways. It's going to be the collapse or it's going to be we ride it, you know? And I don't know if I'm excited to see which route it goes, but you know, I think last night was big because the guys found out before the game, and they still went out there and put up 10 runs, and you know that's a good sign. But man, it's a blow. I feel so bad for the teammates. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be on an MLB roster, but I can tell you that I bet the teammates are bummed. And, you know, being a San Diego diehard fan my entire life, man, it sucks. It sucks. It's so disappointing, man. And what's disappointing is, like, he's the last guy that needs to take any sort of performance enhancing, you know, and, like, I know that he was trying to get back as soon as he could, and I get that. But, like, man, like it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. And again, like it's not his job to make me happy, but I feel like I share a lot of feelings with a lot of the San Diego fan base, and it's a bummer, man. And what really sucks is the long-term effects of it, and we won't even know what that is until it happens. But, like, again, you know how the meme, like, what will this do to LeBron's legacy? Like, what is this going to do to Tatis' legacy? Like, it doesn't matter what he does from now. He might not make the Hall of Fame just because of this. So, it sucks. But
yeah,
Also,
I think like another go ahead, Ethan. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to sort us through something. So there are a ton of storylines that have to do with the Tatis thing, and I think we need to take them step by step. So I think where we need to start is just why he took PEDs. So there are a ton of conflicting things. He says it was for ringworms. His mom put the picture of basically a circle on his neck, which they claimed
that's so embarrassing, by the way. But
all right,
anyway.
So Jack, what's your reaction to the ringworm start of the story?
I mean, first of all, I don't buy it for a second. And first of all, like the fact that he came, to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce whatever he was taking, but he came out and said he was taking this, but it turns out that it was a different drug that spelt somewhat similarly. So it was like, oh my God, he's just hurting himself in every corner. But I think it's a bad look that his mom is out there like defending him. Like, you're a grown man, act like it. Like, honestly, like, again, this might be a little bit off subject, but my point is, like, I think that if he had just worn it from the beginning, I think it would have it wouldn't have blown over, but it would have gone a lot smoother than it has so far. Having your mother post pictures while you're the face of MLB, that's not a good look. And it's tough. Clark, what do you think?
I mean, look, for me, it's like, I think the ringworm, whatever the ringworm is, it's nor here nor there. I don't believe it for a second. And I'm
I looked it up. There's 3 million cases per year in the U.S. So it's not that he might have had ringworm, but you can't tell me that you're taking a performance-enhancing drug to treat ringworm. Like,
yeah, I mean, the ringworm thing, like I said, I don't believe it. I think it's a lie. I think there was some sort of last-second ditch effort by Fernando's camp to possibly save face. I think he was definitely taking it just to get back quicker. And I think if he would have gone out with that and just said it, there would have been a little bit less kickback. It would have been a little bit more not understandable, but it probably wouldn't have had such a harsh reaction.
Just say you made a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thing with it. I'm like, if you own up to it and you take more responsibility rather than trying to spin this web of lies that's so easy to poke holes into, you avoid maybe more blowback than you get.
And you would think that he'd be able to come up with better lies than he has. Like, they're not even good lies. Like, they're just brutal.
That's the thing, too, is I think it's really concerning. I think one of the underlying things that's really concerning to me at this point, and I tweeted this out last night, was how bad of advice Fernando Tatis Jr. is getting. His camp, whoever is advising him, and I know it's probably his father and his mother, and I know they raised him, but oh my God, get someone else in there to be his advisor.
Well, I was going to ask you guys, who do you think, like, his camp is?
It's his family. It's his immediate family. It's his dad.
And that one coach, this infamous coach that he's getting, you know what I'm talking about? This Dominican coach that he goes back and visits every year. I don't know who it is.
It's just like the fact that, like, it's a number of continuous lies. Like, to me, he's bordering not on a pathological liar, but certainly an issue where he doesn't tell the truth nearly as often. And I think you saw that from comments from Preller. Like,
I was going to say, I think Preller, I think he handled it as well as it could have been handled. You know what I mean? And like I like the fact that like he's getting called out on it by his teammates. When the motorcycle incident happened, you didn't hear teammates really calling him out. You heard Bob Melvin say, we have 50. We have so many guys. It doesn't like one guy isn't going to make or break it for the most part. But you're seeing his own teammates sort of rip into him, and I think that it's a good thing. I really do.
You have to hope that the ripping in from the teammates is a wake-up call.
The thing is, though, Clark, we said the same thing when he got hurt at the beginning of spring training. It's like, I hope this is a wake-up call. And I know it's not the same incident, but...
Well, so I actually want to inject into here. So do you guys feel like the ringworm story is... Most people are saying it's false. do you guys feel like it's false because he already lied about the motorcycle thing? Like, is there any trust left with anything that Tatis says when it comes to this stuff?
I think everything from here on out, continuing forward, you have to take with a grain of salt until he's proven again that he can, stand up there and be an accountable 23-year-old, which, by the way, he has one now on his team who does it all the time, and Juan Soto. No, I think really from now on, moving forward with how long Fernando's a Padre, questions are always going to be around every single thing he tells the organization. Whether we know about some of this stuff or not, we totally determine. But I think moving forward, I think the ringworm thing's been BS. The whole situation with the wrist was BS and the DR. We find out it was multiple motorcycle crashes. No, I don't buy a lot of what he says at the moment right now. He's got to earn that trust back, I'm sure. And if it's bad enough for us as fans, I can't imagine what it's going to be like in the organization for him.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about some players' reactions. So last night, a ton of players came out and basically said, this guy needs to grow up, and he's basically just called him a distraction. If you're reading between the lines, like, he's not on the team right now. He's an absolute distraction. What do you think players are going to do when Fernando actually comes back next spring training and into next season? How do you think players are going to react to him being injected back into the lineup?
Jack, you go ahead first on this.
Well, first of all, I think it takes a lot for Mike Clevinger to say that you're acting immature.
Yeah.
And
Clevinger saying something.
I'm not shitting on, I'm not talking poorly about Mike Clevinger. I think he's a good guy and everything. However, it's like, if he's taking a deep sigh and he's complaining about your activities off the field, then I think that that's probably a huge red flag. Like, that's not good. And I think that what I'm curious about, this factors into my answer, is the World Baseball Classic. Do we know if he
can't play in it? He
can't.
He can't.
Which freaking sucks, because a third of the team is on the Padres when you think about it.
Yes.
Like, the three best players on the team are all Padres, essentially. Like, and I think that it would have been great for those guys to be on the World Baseball Classic team. However, I think he's got a lot of work to do in terms of regaining that stature, that respect, whatever it is. But man, it's easy to say, oh, he's younger than we are. We're 23, 24, 20, whatever, and he's younger than us. But so is Soto, and look at how Soto carries himself, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, you would think that someone of that level or that notoriety or whatever you want to call it, he would have people in his camp or someone. You would think that there'd be someone there to be like, yes, no, like, monitor all his decisions. And if obviously that person's not there now, and I would imagine they are, I would imagine that this whole situation is going to change that. But it's, man, if I was his teammate, man, I'm really curious to see how Machado. I don't have a good answer. I'm more curious to see how Machado and all of them are gonna. I'm curious to see how it folds out or how it plays out. But
I think for me, public perception wise from Padres fans, he'll have to earn a lot back. I think fortunately enough for him, great play usually wipes away the sins of past mistakes for athletes. So if Machado comes out, not Machado, but if Tatis comes out and he has an MVP caliber season his next year, people will start to forget. Will questions loom? Sure, of course they will. But in terms of fans, I think it'll be easier to overturn their perception because, again, if you play well, it usually does absolve all former sin. It's what it typically happens. It's happened time and time again.
I hate to admit it. Sorry, Clark, I interrupted you.
No, you're
but I hate to admit it, but San Diego's a pretty fair weather fan base. And, I saw a tweet earlier today. It was like, Eric no longer miserable. You guys probably know that account. But they were like, it's like there's going to be so many people. 98% of Padres Twitter wasn't even on Padres Twitter 2 years ago. You know what I mean? And those are the people that are like, oh, they're going to love when he comes back. They're gonna, and you know what? Like, I'm going to root for him when he comes back. He's on the Padres. Like, come on. But there's going to be a rift in that clubhouse. There's going to be. I mean, there already is. But and I had one big question that I wanted to ask you guys is, what effect, if any, does this have on Soto's extension, if that's a possibility?
I mean, I don't know how much of an impact it has. I mean, obviously, if I'm sure Peter Seidler is still going to want to go out there and get it. I actually think for Peter Seidler, this would probably make it even more imperative because now you don't know what you have in your other supposed superstar.
He's literally Tatis is a question mark right now.
Yeah,
from the face of baseball to a question mark, that is about as bad as it gets.
So I think for Peter Seidler, this probably encourages him more in the offseason to be more aggressive about getting this done. I don't know what you think, Ethan, but I would seem that he would probably be like, look, I don't know what I have in one guy. I thought I had a reliable source for a young superstar, but maybe it's time to, ensure that I have another one in case something happens again.
Well, my thought is I think now the Soto extension is pretty much all but guaranteed. I think this basically says,
really?
I mean, if you look at the fact Machado can opt out of his contract after next year.
He's not.
He might not do, but he could if he wanted to. Which, if you lose Machado and then you have Tatis, who's a huge question mark, the Padres are pretty much left with nothing. They gutted the farm for Soto. So, I mean, Soto has all the leverage, but they basically have to get the deal done at this point. I mean,
and say everything hits the fan, though, the Padres have leverage to trade Soto. They could get everything they gave away back.
They probably wouldn't get as much, but they would get something back.
Yeah.
Well, correct. You're right. It wouldn't be the same haul, but in 2 years from now, if we're going to the playoffs or not going into the playoffs, I should say, and it's clear that things are not going well, it sucks, but it'll be a rebuild stage. And it's just such a bummer, though, because, like, I know we said it earlier, but, like, Clark is like, we've built this entire season around, like, just survive until he gets back, man. And again, the Soto trade is the only reason that we still have a chance. Like, without Soto, imagine if we hadn't have pulled off any of those, like,
if they didn't pull off any of those trades,
I wouldn't be on this podcast. I wouldn't be on this podcast right now. I can tell you that.
I mean,
oh man.
So the one thing I want to bring up, and this is who I actually wish I've criticized him many times in the past, but I've never felt worse for someone. AJ Preller is in the worst spot right now.
No.
AJ Preller got so screwed by Tatis. Preller might lose his job at the end of the year if they somehow miss the playoffs. And it's pretty much just on the back of Tatis over the last 2 years, which is crazy.
You think that they would still, if they miss the playoffs this year, you think they still might fire? I mean, of course they might, but
I think
after the Soto trade, I almost feel like Preller locked himself in for at least 5 more years after that.
I mean, I think there's a compelling – I actually tend – if the Padres make the playoffs, he's fine. He's totally fine. But if they miss the playoffs, someone has to be the scapegoat. There has to be someone who takes
someone's going to take the bullet. We don't know who.
I think it's going to be Preller would be the obvious guy. He's the
Preller,
guy.
Preller or Tatis though. Like
Preller. They'll deliver that bullet right to Preller's head.
I agree with you. I'm playing devil's advocate, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think but I even think if that did happen, if we did miss the playoffs and we fired AJ Preller, I would tell you that was the wrong move because I don't think in any realistic way I put any blame on him for the season. He has done everything that you've asked. He has done everything that every Padre fan asks.
And credit to Seidler for letting him do it though too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Like that's the shame about like the thing too is that like I don't want them to fire Preller because I think again he had the balls to make the move, and I love the fact that he's in on every single deal there ever is conceivable. Case in point, why he got Drury and Hader, who no one saw I think realistically coming.
Your man put an offer in for Shohei Ohtani. That man is in every. I mean, and when you listen to other execs talk about him, they speak so highly of him. You know what I mean? Like that's. I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry, but
no, you're good. Like I think for Preller himself, I'm like, I don't want to go back to a GM who you never hear anything from. I don't need another Kevin Towers. I don't need that. I want.
Don't even say that name to me.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I want the guy who, if he makes his faults, sure. But he's in on everything. He makes the team so exciting from a standpoint of trying to acquire personnel. I think at the end of the day, if he did get fired, at the very least, what you would say about AJ Preller's existence as the Padres GM is that it was exciting.
I mean, if he got fired today, would you say he's the most Who's the best GM in the Padres history?
I mean, I don't think anyone would. I mean, Preller would be the most notable, but I don't think he'd
Your
be the best.
man got at the time Hosmer. Hosmer signed Will, but your man went out and got Machado, and he's put in work, man. And like I know someone, if the season goes poorly for the rest of the way out, I understand that someone has to take the bullet, and it's probably Preller. However, I don't think he's the one that he's not at fault here. Like
no,
he didn't get.
I think that's why. I think you can't fire Bob Melvin after 1 year. You're not going to do that.
No, he's the one person I want to keep is Bob Melvin.
So like I think if you're looking at the front office, you got to be like, it's time to get rid of Preller. I mean, we've had him since 2013 is when he was hired. He's almost been the GM 2014. So he's been the GM 8 seasons now.
Was it the same? It was different ownership when he was first got the job though, correct?
It was still Ron Fowler, I think, might have been in charge. But maybe not. I think Ron Fowler was in charge still.
I mean, I just think at some point it's a results-based business. And if they miss the playoffs after going all in, and I just think I don't think they should fire Preller at this point. I don't think he's actually done anything wrong.
I mean, he's had goofs in the past. We've noted his goofs in the past, trading guys like Ty France and Andres Munoz and stuff. But realistically, I mean, this season in particular, if you took this season under the microscope, AJ Preller did everything every single Padres fan asked.
Take yourself back 5 years from now. And if you were 5 years ago, looking at where we are now, you'd be like, holy crap. Like
you'd be feeling good.
Yeah, exactly. But,
to play devil's advocate on that point is, yes, you'd be feeling good on a team on paper, but once you see these final records, I don't really think you'd be feeling that good. Like if you didn't know who was on the team and you're just looking at the records, they're kind of just standard Padres finishes besides for 2020. And I think that's the issue of, yes, Preller's really good at putting talent on the field, but something's just not adding up. I mean, what other team has this Tatis scenario happen?
Agreed, Ethan. Like you have that's such a good point. It's like there's something that's not clicking. Like there's something that's not. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the hitting coach. I don't know what it is, but like we have too many good. Even without Tatis, we have too many good pieces to not be competing for the division. Like I know we're not going to win the division this year, but like.
I think if you're able to keep Soto and kind of keep this core together and Tatis comes back, I think again, if we're going to talk about the division itself a little bit, I don't think there's a talent gap between what the Padres and Dodgers are.
The Padres make it way bigger than it needs to be. That's the problem.
They completely go in there thinking this is their World Series. I always compare it to myself from a football perspective. As when the Bengals from like 2011 to 2015 played the Steelers, they would get their ass beat every single time because it would make it way too big in their head. And this is what the Padres do with the Dodgers. They make it way too big.
But it's like painfully obvious too for someone who watches every Padres game. Like they make mistakes playing the Dodgers that
never make
you wouldn't be seeing little league teams make those mistakes. And you're seeing the Padres, like it's so tough. But like we are the little brother. And you know what? We're not even the rivalry. Like it's the Giants still. Like I know we're better than the Giants, but like we have not earned that title of like the rivalry with the Dodgers.
I mean, it's tough with the Dodgers though still. I mean, they're a buzzsaw. I mean, truthfully, like they won 11 straight right now.
Yeah, they ripped off 11.
I think getting back to like July 1st or like 36-4, it's crazy.
And this could age very poorly, but I still have faith in the Dodgers are going to Dodger it. It's like the Red Sox.
That's the thing.
You know what? Like Atlanta wiped the floor with them last year in the playoffs. Like made them look like children against men. And like I don't know. The Padres are going to make the playoffs, all right? All right? I'm going to go out and say it right now. And I hope they're playing in Atlanta because it doesn't look like they're going to win the first wild card spot.
No.
But
well, they're only 3 games back. But
do you know what our record was? You know what our record is right now?
It's like 64-51, right?
You know what our record was at this time last year with Tatis?
No, I don't. I just know this is when we started to shit the bed.
52 and 63.
Oh, so we had already turned. It was
We
I thought
we
were
were all
53 and 52.
or what?
What was last year's record? We weren't under 500 at any point until like very late last year.
No, well, no, we were under 500 at this point last year.
No.
No, because we turned and lost like 12 out of 13 at one point.
We lost the Scherzer trade at the deadline, and we lost like 8 straight. And then
remember, because that's when Hosmer had that talk with the team, and then they got no hit immediately.
I mean, what'd you expect though, Ethan? Like, oh yeah, let's put in Hosmer to fire up the team. Are you kidding me? Like,
dude, when we got no hit by
dude,
Logan
I'm
Gilbert,
the whole narrative of him being a clubhouse guy is so lame. Like,
so this time last year, what's today's date?
Today's August 20 or August 13th. Yes.
Yeah. So this is like when things really started to get bad. So this is at this time last year, there was 67 and 52. And then they would proceed to lose 9 of 10. So this is when things really got bad for them last year.
I think it was about this time last year when we got no hit by the guy who was making his debut for the Diamondbacks.
Actually, this is the 2 days beforehand anniversary of getting no hit by Logan Gilbert.
I mean, what the heck? I don't know what to say.
Yeah, this is actually how bad it was. We had, what was it? 1, 2, 3. This would be a stretch where we went 3 and 15 last year. So they can avoid that. They're fine. I think I feel better, substantially better about this team right now than I did about the team last year. At this
100%, bro. Like, and again, like if I had to choose, I wish I didn't have to choose, but if I had to choose between Soto or Tatis, I'm taking Soto every time. Every time. The man plays 100. The man plays 155 games a year, and he's Ted Williams, except he's better. Like
they just have to beat the shitty teams. They got to beat the bad teams here. They got coming up. They got to beat the Nationals.
I mean,
New Orleans got to beat the Nationals again.
Well,
this is.
I want to steer us back to the Tatis thing. We can talk about the Padres falling apart. I think we all acknowledge that's probably not happening. We all think they're a playoff team, but I want to bring up a Tatis thing that I've seen a lot on Twitter. Does Preller and the organization, if you can void the contract, do you think about doing it with Tatis?
Go ahead, Clark.
Man, you got to consider.
What if it meant you can get Soto? If it means the contract,
that's what I was gonna say.
But if we don't void it, does that mean we don't get Soto?
No, I don't.
No, you can still get him, but I think
but it's going to get a lot more sticky because then you have 3 players getting paid.
So here's the thing. I think if they could, there would have to be. I don't think that they would do it. I would still say it'd be like a 90-10, but you would still have to consider it. You would have to consider it at this point. Tatis has had really, really questionable bad decision stretch here, and I don't know sometimes if a shit leopard can change its spots. Great quote. So I just don't know where I want to go with this. So I would say you'd have to consider it. If you could void it, you'd have to look into it.
At the very least, I hope they put the scare in Tatis. We might void it. So you know what I mean? I hope that there's some sort of incentive there. I mean, the thing is, it was so painful about all this is when he got hurt or whatever with the motorcycle, whatever, it's spring training. We were saying the same things now that we were saying then. And it's so, the of insanity is
doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and expecting a different result. It's just.
Would you consider voiding it, Ethan?
I would cut ties.
You wouldn't do it right. You wouldn't do it right now.
Well, guess. So, what year is his contract through? Do you know?
Oh, it's 15 years.
No, because it was 14 seasons from 2 years ago.
So it's 2022. His contract ends in 2034.
Jesus. I mean, it's a long career, but I just think everything you've seen right now, none of it is good. He's played 1 full season and it was a 60-game season.
So not a full season.
Not a full season, but he hasn't shown the ability to stay healthy first and foremost because he hurt his wrist in the Dominican Republic on the motorcycle. And all of last year, we haven't even talked about it, he had that shoulder injury, which he refused to get surgery on, which could still always be a lingering issue. And then we add on, now he's taking PEDs, which hopefully he learns from, but I guess you can never know because there's been reports that he tested positive back in March, and
I
this
was
is
gonna
his
say
fifth real push.
I don't think that this is the first time with I don't think he's the face of baseball. If anyone needs to be playing the game, if MLB wants one player to be in the lineup every day, it's
Yeah.
Tatis. I'm not saying that's the right or wrong decision. I'm just saying though that
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to consider it for sure. You have to consider it.
I pull it.
Don't void him. Don't void him. Come on now.
You have to look at it. I would say you got to take a peek at it at this point. I wouldn't do
it.
Yeah,
just to scare him a little bit. Just to scare him a little bit.
But I think the reason I say that I think you do it is because then you can secure Soto. I think then financially it totally makes sense. Like there's not even a question mark of can you sign him to an extension. If you take a player that's locked in for 40 years, all guaranteed with averaging 32 mil over the contract, you take that off your payroll, you can get Soto. That's easy if you're just adding $10 million onto your payroll. Convincing yourself to add 35 APY every year is much harder, especially on a huge question mark player. I mean, Soto's going to sell more jerseys in San Diego than I think Tatis would in the long run. Especially
I bought mine yesterday. It was.
Oh, did you really?
But you've heard Peter Seidler talk, man. I don't think money's an issue for that man at this point.
No, I don't think money's an issue for Peter either.
And no, it's not. Well,
I don't know. Like, are you guys season ticket holders or anyone in your family for the Padres?
No, I'm not.
Peter Seidler sent a personal email out yesterday to everyone saying that they were going to raise ticket prices again next year, and got a lot of brushback. But
I'm sure he did.
You know what? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's just
I don't know. Like, come on. Like, pay the price, get the players. Like, you pay for what you get, man. Like,
well. So I'm going to bring up two things that I wanted to talk about. And so I was talking to Cole yesterday about this. And two things he brought up is, one, he thinks if the Padres make the playoffs, that Shohei Ohtani would be in the cards. Because Preller went on a podcast recently and talked about how the Ohtani deal and the Soto deal had no overlap. What he was offering the Angels had nothing to do with what he was offering the Nationals. So Cole thinks that Ohtani is still in the cards for Preller. And so he thinks that if you're trying to get Ohtani, then you void Tatis and you just go all in on a new
unless they were thinking about just doing like a 1-year rental with Tatis.
Yeah, and then Tatis goes to somewhere else and just becomes the greatest player of all time, which you know is going to happen.
That's the thing. If he does leave us, oh no.
Oh, and he'll leave us, and then his whole slate will be wiped clean, and they'll forget about everything, and then he'll just go be a Hall of Famer.
So this is the thing that I think from an objective perspective, I mean I think that would 1,000% happen, and I think it's because there is something wrong with the water in San Diego from a talent development perspective, from a organization perspective. For some reason, this team should be a perennial contender, and for some reason they're not. I mean, last year the Scherzer thing completely deflated them, and they just folded immediately and just packed it up.
I feel like we're basing that a lot off one thing.
So, Ethan, would you say that this it's talked about on Ben and Woods? I don't know if you listen to it at all, but they say the San Diego curse isn't a real thing. Are you arguing that there is a San Diego curse?
I think so. I mean, I've been a Chargers fan all my life and a Padres fan. I mean, we haven't won a championship as a city.
I mean, between us three, we couldn't pick worse teams to root for. We really couldn't.
No, I mean, as much
Bengals,
as I would love,
oh man,
as much as I would love to be like, no, the San Diego curse doesn't exist. I've watched. I mean, the Chargers now, just from a Chargers perspective, have gone from creating the modern NFL, not winning a Super Bowl, creating the modern NFL in Air Coryell, having Dan Fouts a Hall of Fame quarterback, then having Ryan Leaf, the biggest bust of all time, drafting Drew Brees. Drew Brees then leaves to the Saints, becomes a Hall of Fame player, drafting Phillip Rivers, who is a fringe Hall of Fame player.
Drafted Eli Manning first. I'd like that.
That is true. Another Hall of Fame quarterback. Then you draft Justin Herbert, it's still they have no championships.
And don't
It's like
forget, you also have the best tight end of all time. during
two.
that-
You have two because you
Yeah.
also have Kellen Winslow and Antonio Gates plus a top 5 running back of all time, and they were all on the same team together.
Remember the year that we were number 1 in offense and number 1 in defense, and then lost in the first round?
No, we
Chills.
didn't make the playoffs. We missed the
Even
playoffs.
better. Perfect. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think there's. I don't buy. Look,
Clark, is there a curse or no?
I don't think there's a curse. I don't buy curses. And if I needed any proof that a curse doesn't exist, all I need to do is look at my Cincinnati Bengals last year. They went to a Super Bowl.
That's as good as it's ever going to get for you, Clark. So I hope
They'll
you
win one. But here's the thing.
win.
Winning in sports
only
is
messing.
really, really hard. And I think when you look at the Padres, in the past, the culture of the organization in the 2000s, it wasn't ever there. They have an owner who's invested in winning. They have a GM who's going to try to do everything that they can. The problem right now is just maybe slightly off in what they've done personnel-wise. But I think I really think the group that they have in there right now can win a World Series. This is a World Series caliber team. I don't change my mind on. And the idea of a curse, I just don't buy it. I don't think a curse is real for the city of San Diego. It's just not there for me.
I mean, we've had teams since the 60s, and we haven't.
know,
we're
but
the only city with one team, major sports team that is not.
I know, but okay. There's been other cities that claim to be cursed. Cleveland, LeBron won a freaking ring for them.
To be fair, we're 0-8 in the World Series. We got swept both times, which sucks. But we also played probably.
They played the
Think
best
about
team
it.
ever.
We played the '98 Yankees and the '84 Tigers, which are probably 2 of the top 5 best teams of all time, like without a doubt. Like, and it sucks for Tony Gwynn, but like,
sports curses are all what's built up in fans' heads. I don't buy it. I think it's been bad luck for sure, but I don't think this is some sort of issue that's going to continue as an elongated thing. They will break through at some point.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't think the Padres fan base helps.
They don't help themselves. They lean into it.
They don't help, man. They're like, you get on Twitter and you see what they're putting out there, man. Like, if I was a Padres player and I was seeing this, I'd be like, screw these people. Like, I mean, I'll take Hosmer slander any day of the week, but the other guys, like, oh man, so disappointing, man. So okay, wait, Clark and Ethan, if it was one or the other. If you would you drop Tatis if it meant that Juan Soto was a Padre for the rest of his career?
No. I don't
No?
know.
You're gonna...
Well, I'm still assuming the scenario is that there's not. I know it's not a guarantee we get Soto. We could still get Soto. Are you saying like
I'm probably overly optimistic that we're signing Soto. Like, he's staying in San Diego. However, if you had to choose,
if I had to choose, I would
drop Tatis and keep Soto. Soto's in a Padre uniform for the rest of his career.
I guess if you're asking me if I had to choose between 2 players, I would rather have Juan Soto at this point. Yes.
And before the season, my little sister, who's a big Padres fan, asked Clark and I, like, would you trade Tatis for anyone? And Clark and I both said there's only one player.
Juan Soto.
Juan Soto. And now they're both on the same team. Well, not really, but
now one can't even fucking play because he's an idiot.
Oh man! And here I am hyping him up with my cup.
Yeah, shut up.
Okay. I mean, again, at some point the Padres will break through. I just think the biggest reason that the Padres aren't able to be the contender is just because they have such a buzzsaw at the top of their division every year, year in and year out. It's always going to be an uphill climb when you have an absolute stacked roster that can develop any player they want, can make any trade at the deadline, can destroy your weakness immediately. I mean, as much as the Dodgers haven't won World Series, they've won the NL West pennant the last 11 of 12 years, which is a crazy run.
It's absurd. But it's also absurd that they haven't. It's also absurd that they haven't done more in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the thing though.
Yeah,
the Dodgers, their regular season buzzsaw, the real dull knife in the playoffs.
Hey, they were buzzsaw against us in 2020. So
okay, cool. 2020 fake season.
Yeah,
but I mean,
bring up Brusdar Gutteral, please.
Yeah.
No, please. I want to
No,
talk about it.
but my point is, as much as the Dodgers are a buzzsaw, that's always gonna make. It's just like it's any division. I mean, it's the reason Tom Brady's dynasty lasted so long in the NFL is because he had no teams to compete with him against his division.
Hey, don't talk about the Bills like that, all right? I'm on the massa. You're right.
Well,
You're
the
right.
last couple of years, obviously with Josh Allen, but for the majority of Tom Brady's reign in New England, I mean, the best quarterback you'd maybe talk about is Mark Sanchez. And now you're sitting in a division where, yes, we have Juan Soto, we have Fernando Tatis, we have all of these amazing players, Manny Machado, but the Dodgers are always going to be a really, really good team and be competing and make those games harder, which makes dropping games easy.
They'll beat them at some point, man. They'll beat them at some point. I'm still holding out.
No, I'm not saying they're. I'm not saying
I know they're
not
still
going
going to be there.
I don't know, Clark. I don't know if we're ever going to beat the Dodgers. I don't know, man. It's pretty brutal, man. It's been a tough stretch.
That sweep was so deflating. You just traded for the best closer in baseball, top 5 position player, if not the best hitter in baseball, and you still can't beat them. You got swept, and you scored 4 runs the entire series.
They're going to be okay.
Clark was also there for 2 of the 3 games.
Yeah,
so
I
was also there for 2 of the 3.
Ethan was there for the first one.
I'm sure you've heard about the Clark curse. But...
oh yeah. Oh.
So
yeah.
if there is a San Diego curse, what would you there's the Bambino curse, whatever. What would you title it as? What is
God.
That's a good one.
The sunshine curse, maybe. I don't know. We just have it too good down here that sports teams can't be good.
75 and sunny curse?
75 and sunny curse? I don't know. Get too relaxed.
I don't know. I don't actually think the curse exists, but it's more of just, obviously, it's not the city itself. It's just like something is going on in these organizations to where they can't win.
This organization's good. Do you really think the organization is not set up well?
No, I actually don't.
You really don't?
I mean, I think Steigler, I think he's a good owner. I'm not going to deny that. But from a player development standpoint,
you can't. No. Don't make the player development. Don't do that because they constantly have top prospects.
I know, but then when they come up for us, they don't produce.
Yes, but you don't need the. Here's the thing: if you're under Preller's model, which is just acquiring talent for the prospect packages that he's clearly abided by, he's doing a great job.
Okay, I get it. But again, this team has developed all of these prospects, right? But we can't win. We've had 1 season over 500 in the last 10 years. That is crazy. And it was during the 60-game season.
Okay, I get it. But they're going to get I understand. I think organizationally, I disagree. You think they're a bad organization. Do they have their flaws? Certainly.
They're an objectively bad organization. They have
not right now as they sit. I don't think they're objectively bad where they sit right now.
They have the worst winning percentage out of any MLB franchise.
Okay, so you're going to hold that over their head
ever?
Right now?
Ethan, ever? They have
not
the worst.
Ever. No, since whatever 1960, whenever they started. When did they become a franchise?
69.
62 or something.
62.
Oh, yeah.
It's whatever that.
I think they have their flaws, but to say they're objectively right now, a bad franchise, bad organizational. No, I wouldn't agree with that.
I mean,
I will say that calling a team that if the season ended today, we'd be in the playoffs, and saying that it's a bad organization.
I don't think
that's a bold
I'm not
statement.
saying it's a bad. I'm just saying if you look at the San Diego Padres as a franchise since they began,
sure,
I don't think you could make
100%.
They're a good franchise. I mean,
no. We're talking about full longevity of their entire existence. No, they are not a good franchise. They aren't.
I was talking about.
The thing is, though,
I
bro,
thought you're saying right now.
No. I think right now they're making all the right moves. I mean, you just got Juan Soto. I'm just saying as a franchise. I think if you were just to look at it,
they're bad.
They're really bad.
Well, I mean, it's relative, but technically the Dodgers have been a completely the most underwhelming team in the last 20 years.
I mean, if you go by some World Series success, you can make the argument.
Yeah.
But they've still been relevant every single time. They go to the playoffs.
Relevant is one thing, but successful is different.
I mean, they do have a number of National League pennants. They do have a World Series, I guess, in 2020. I mean.
How many years out of the last 10 have they been in the World Series? Like 6 or 7?
Hey,
think?
I want to frame this in a different way, just because you guys are Padres fans. Jack, if that was the Padres, you would be unhappy with you as a fan.
I appreciate that point of view. And I would be disappointed. I would be disappointed if my team made the playoffs every year, won the division like overwhelmingly every year, set records for wins in a year, and didn't make it past the Atlanta Braves, who were under 500 on August 6th last year. Like, I don't know. I
Or the
like. Don't get
Washington
me wrong,
Nationals.
Ethan. Like, you have a great point. Like, again, that's first world problems. Like, again,
Oh, for sure.
but like, you can't tell me that if you're a Dodgers fan. I know Dodgers fans are disappointed, and I know that it bothers them that their only championship was the Cinderella or the Mickey Mouse season. And and again, don't get me wrong, if the Padres won it that year, everyone would be hearing about
Everyone
it.
wants
Yeah, but like, I know we all know Dodger fans, and I know that it bothers them that they haven't won a legitimate World Series. And they're gonna always talk about the Astros and everything, but like, it's over. It happened. You lost. It sucks. They cheated, but you lost. And that's another point that I like to bring up, that Clark still stands the Astros, which is messed up. But
Cheating
anyway,
against the Dodgers is always welcome. I always enjoy cheating against
I'll
the
root
Dodgers.
for any team against the Dodgers,
If you want to
without a
cheat
doubt.
against the Dodgers, go for it. I don't really. But I mean, I guess to your point, Ethan, I think you're right. I think yes, if you're a Dodgers fan, it would be or like if I was a Dodgers fan in the scenario, would there be excitement that they're great every year? Yes, sir. But I think at the end of the day, you could probably. I mean, your dad's a Dodgers fan. I would.
I mean, they're spoiled. Their season doesn't start till October.
I mean, it is a little bit. I would have to assume there's a little bit of disappointment. I mean, you go to the playoffs every year and you fall short of expectations. Truthfully, a lot of times.
No, I definitely think. I think the expectations are really high. I mean, obviously none of us are Dodger fans, so I don't truly know what it's like to not have to worry till October.
Yeah.
But I think my point is I would rather my team be like that than be like the Padres, where you're just hoping that you have to have a conversation.
No, I'm
about
sure.
100%.
No, I would rather not have to worry about getting in the playoffs every year. I would much rather be 16 games up, sitting in first place, and not worrying about things. But that's not how it works.
Ripping off 11 straight, and you just get randos off the street who turn into like Cy Young winners.
Yeah, Tyler Anderson, Andrew Heaney. Yeah, but it's whatever. Can't do anything about it.
It's okay. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or is there anything else you want to touch on before?
I feel like we've touched on everything with Tatis and the Padres for today.
One more thing.
Okay, go for it.
How many plays has Kim made that Tatis wouldn't have?
Oh God, he's made a lot. That's the thing. I will say that for the Padres. It's one thing we haven't touched on today about Tatis. I think they're okay at shortstop right now. Obviously, you want your superstar there, but Kim's done more than an admirable job. He's definitely above average league shortstop. He rakes against left-handers.
I mean,
probably a top 5 defensive shortstop.
I know Tatis gets to a lot of balls that most guys wouldn't. However, it's the routine plays, man. Ball gets hit to Kim, you know the ball's gonna hit the first baseman in the chest every time. Like, man, he's balling out, man. He's not getting enough credit for how much effort like. I know he's not. I mean, he's still batting okay too, but like, his presence defensively is unmatched in my opinion. Like, he's so good. But
I guess for myself, I'll this is my last note. For the Tatis thing, I guess generally still very disappointed. I don't really know. It still feels somewhat numb. But again, I think if you're Fernando, you have to learn from the mistake. You come back. And for the only way things get smoothed over is if he's just a world beater when he returns. Because like I said, all sin is forgiven for great play. That's his only way out of this. Staying clean, not making any more mistakes.
No pun intended, but he's got 2 strikes. It's 0-2 on him right now.
Yeah, I mean, people.
He's one mistake away from being done forever.
No,
Hey,
and he's already pushing it. But
I just because I want to push back on great play. That does not work for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson will always.
Deshaun Watson's not even playing. Deshaun Watson's.
Well, I know, but I'm saying when you say like, all-star players, great play.
It's typically worked out. Think about it. People forget. Kobe Bryant.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying,
David
for Deshaun
Ortiz?
Watson, I will I will never say Deshaun Watson.
No, I would never say Deshaun Watson either. And there's a lot of other guys too. But I'm saying if you look historically over the careers, and I'm saying more of and less of like even like a PED standpoint. I'm not saying off the field issues as much. I'm saying from like stupid decisions like this that upset franchises, elite play when you return will usually absolve what you've done. But no, you're right. I'm not saying from like a criminal sense when people have like mistakes like that. No, it's something that never goes away. But I'm saying in terms of you make a mistake like breaking a wrist on something stupid, it's absolved if you come back and play well.
Mm-hmm. All right, you guys good to go?
Oh, I'm good. Appreciate
right.
it. Listen to the rant for Christ's sake.
I know. Thanks for listening to our bonus episode of From the Backseat. Remember to leave a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Make sure to follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram to make sure to keep up on all of our content. And thank you for listening, everyone.
Appreciate it.